No, thanks, Dinesh, for joining me today. I know you have a packed schedule, so much appreciated. We are living in a world that nobody predicted. So, how has COVID defined your new normal?
I think for us, the new normal is changing definition as we go along, as especially as our country and our province goes through the recovery phases. At this moment, the entire team is working from home, and they've adapted well to the situation. Um, Now, next week, the recovery phase two is starting, and definitely the team is in no hurry to get back to work. So just taking a wait and see
Yeah,
approach. I think the mandate is to start enlarging our social bubble, and the
yeah,
team should do that, taking into account their personal circumstances, so whatever at home and this thing. So I think it's an evolving definition.
yeah,
We are adapting well based on the guidelines of the government and our personal situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
How has the transition worked for your team from going from on-site to remote? What were some key challenges and what were some quick wins?
Actually, it went off very well. I mean, within 2 days, we were fully working at office to working from home.
Yeah,
Um, we we are always set up to work from home, but it was only on an as needed basis.
yeah.
And we also had a business continuity plan, and this was actually one of the scenarios covered, like a pandemic or
Okay,
when you could
okay.
not have access to the office. So
Yeah,
the team already knew what they had to prepare to get access to the office equipment and also work from home expectations.
yeah,
Definitely some adjustment needed because this is now everyone's working from home, and with little children, you're kind of doing homeschooling. And
yeah,
so we made some adjustments to take into account specific situations. But as I said, we were already set up, so that was good. Um, then, specifically, the leadership team did communicate with the staff on a quite frequent basis, especially about the financial health of the company,
okay. Yeah,
uh, reassuring them that we are still good, we are still in business, there's no plans to change any of the situations. I know other companies, they either change their, reduce their working hours, things like that.
yeah,
Customers, yeah, we still kept up to date for the customers. Definitely the socialization, the stand-ups, that has changed. So now we are kind of explicitly taking some time off to check in with people, have a general conversation with
yeah.
almost like an agenda-less conversation, just what
Okay. Yeah,
happened. One-on-ones, taking more time to actually ask how they're doing, whether they're healthy, family is healthy, they're
yeah,
not kind of getting homesick, or rather staying at home, all of those things, right? So just more direct in our conversations,
yeah.
just to check in and have an open line of communication with them. Yeah.
No. Have you seen an uptick in demand from organizations looking for a workforce management solution, especially with remote workforce now?
It's actually gone both ways. So we have some customers, hotels and convention centers, that where
Okay.
the demand has completely dried up and they are at a standstill,
Okay.
because obviously they cannot support any large gatherings over 50
Yeah.
people, so they are stuck. I mean, some of them are trying to make adjustments, like organizing games, but only for a audience, like a broadcast only audience.
Yeah.
However that works, but definitely the staffing need is reduced. On the other side, we have security companies, staffing services, and home healthcare that provide staff. So their demand has gone up. So we've seen a mixed kind of situations depending on the specific industry people are in.
Okay. And in this new changed world, what keeps you awake at night?
Interesting. Not I sleep easy at night. Strangely, you have that saying from Niebuhr, which is the Serenity Prayer, I believe it's called,
Yeah.
which is give the courage to change things that must be changed, the serenity to accept things that cannot be helped, and the
Yes.
wisdom to know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Really, have a good, solid team in place. A lot of procedures, training, practices, contingency plan, risk mitigation. I think if you have all of that in place, with a good input and a good discussion, and you keep improving and keep adapting,
Yeah.
I think you cover most of the things, and yeah, there are things, there's nothing much you can do about it. You just mitigate the risk as best as you can and prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are lucky in that sense. We are being purely in the software development IT space. I mean, everything is remotely accessible, and we were already set up. So that helped, right? If you're
Yes.
not set up before, then you're pretty much learning to. The good thing is this is tried and tested before. A lot of industries have done it. So there's a lot of good practices and standard patterns to put in place, both from equipment wise to onboarding to culture and even the equipment that you need, right? Video conferencing is fairly routine, so it's nothing extraordinary.
Yeah.
I know some companies, I mean, they have specialized equipment. There's no way you can have a microbiology lab at home or gaming equipment at home, high-end gaming equipment, right? So those are all, that's a different way of getting access to those equipment.
Yeah.
Uh, but some are better positioned than others, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting times, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
And as you mentioned earlier, I think situation is evolving, and I think everybody will adjust.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things see happening is the open office concept that was
Mhm.
kind of pushed a lot in the last couple of years. We might go back to the cubicle workspace. That's just a guess. I don't know how it will shape up. But with everybody demanding some kind of space, we cannot be sitting that close to each other, I think, in the new office space. Yeah.
Yeah, I think cubicles will help, but I think the bigger thing is more um, guidance on sick pay and really calling out the people, right? If you're sick, stay at home. Now,
Yeah.
some industries, it's pretty much if you're not working, you don't get paid, and that's really hard for them, and they are probably forced to take some extreme measures or hide their sicknesses if they cannot handle that. But I think that's probably the thing, the bigger thing is there because yeah, even the office space, it had some pros and cons. It was simpler to set up, but it came at the cost of easier spread of infections. Definitely maybe a noisier cubicle farm, but again, easier to impose some policies around that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's also like the world of contrast again. There are some organizations where you don't go to work and you don't get paid, especially
Mhm.
people working in large food chains, people working on daily wages. And then there are IT companies which have been leading the path for quite some years now, where you can have unlimited vacation time, right? So again, there has to be a balance that needs to be found quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of it comes from the company, some of it should be mandated by the government also. So that it's kind of equitable, at least reasonably equitable amongst the different workforces and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
So, what if employees don't want to show up at work now because we have shown them the path where their work can be done remotely, and
mhm.
if employees are not feeling comfortable, it might be workspace, it might be transit, it might be n number of things. What do we
Yep.
do in that circumstances as well? Yeah,
Yeah, I think the companies need to be adjusted because as long from the company's point of view, as long as the results are being delivered and you're being held accountable and open lines of communication is there in terms of concerns being raised and all of that, I think people should adapt.
yeah,
Definitely, this is the new normal, so you cannot go back to the old ways. The
no,
COVID is here with us now. We have to live with it, and so that means we have to make changes. It's become permanent, so we have to make some
yeah.
permanent changes too, for
On a
sure.
personal note, what would you start doing differently now?
Uh, I think probably invest in a home office, a little bit more formal, this thing rather than just usurping the dining table and kind of making it to a desk.
Yeah,
Getting a good office chair.
yeah,
I think discipline-wise, be more explicit in taking a break from work and home. Things are now there's a very little downtime. I mean, previously the transit was like a downtime between work and
yes,
home and context switching and all of that.
yeah,
Uh, so that is completely gone now. It's just a minute from here to stepping into the kitchen to kind of a thing. So I think a little bit more impose a little bit more self-discipline around time constraints, just to manage time, both home life and work life too. Yeah.
yeah. No, on a personal note, what would you start doing differently now?
Uh, I think probably invest in a home office, a little bit more formal, this thing rather than just usurping the dining table and kind of making it into a desk.
Yeah,
Getting a good office chair.
yeah,
I think discipline-wise, be more explicit in taking a break from work and home. Things are now, there's a very little downtime. I mean, previously the transit was like a downtime between work and
yes,
home and context switching and all of that.
yeah.
Uh, so that is completely gone now. It's just a minute from here to stepping into the kitchen to kind of a thing. So I think a little bit more impose a little bit more self-discipline around time constraints, just to manage time, both home life and work life too. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Dinesh,